You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
And the big winners just keep coming. One that was on the horizon just the other day, Kensington, I forget the full name, KCAC, on the New York, and it went literally from roughly 80 cents. The common went up to about $7.50. It exploded on the news of a merger. Yeah, I guess that was the warrant. That was on the warrant side. So again, you're looking at 500, 600, 700%.
Thank you for tuning in to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, and I'm going to be touching base in today's episode and speaking with Dudley Baker of CommonStockWarrants.com. Dudley, if you haven't listened to my previous interviews with him, is an expert when it comes to investing in common stock warrants in the resource sector, but not only the resource sector. His website offers a full database of tradable warrants beyond the resource sector. So if you're interested in trading in warrants, not only interested in resource stocks or resource stock warrants, please do head on over to Common Stock Warrants. And Dudley is also a passionate resource and mining stock investor. And so Dudley, welcome back onto the show. And how about we start off with getting your commentary regarding what we're seeing in the gold stocks and mining stocks. How do you analyze it based on your decades of experience in this sector?
Okay, great to be back with you, Bill. Yeah, in the my audio, I do an audio for subscribers every Thursday evening. So recently, I was telling them and showing them charts of where I see where we're at. And we've got a little bit more weakness here in gold and silver. But basically, I think we're wrapping up this consolidation mode in gold and silver and even the shares. And I'm looking forward to it. It could happen at any time. I think we come back to the upside. But right now, we've still got, obviously, the markets are telling us a little more work to do, a little bit more consolidation. But I think this is all really healthy. The big picture I have in my mind, and if I can just kind of paint it for our listeners here, is the 1900 level in gold. So, you go back to the 2011 and we touched exceeded 1900 a little bit. You come over here now in today's world, and we took out the 1900 and we took it up to almost 2200 in gold. And now we're settled back down and we're sitting right there. So I look at that. We got double peaks at 1900. That is our new long-term support for gold. And I think right now this is acting very, very well. And this is going to give us, with September, about 4 months or so of this consolidation right here around this 1900 level. It's going to give us a great base to go up substantially higher on this next leg up. So, I would not be surprised to see the 2500, 2700 level reached, later this year. I think once this consolidation's over, I think we're going to have another really great rise. And silver is doing something very similar as well, just consolidating right in the $26, $27 range. And I think that's amazing. And so, when it gets to shares get, and individual shares get a little bit dicier, but I think we're wrapping up this consolidation period. So I'm looking forward to getting this party started all over again.
Dudley, if you're going to initiate a new position at this time, are you doing that primarily in the open market, or are you going to do that through private placements?
Well, I do a little bit of everything now, and I want to give you kudos because the last time that we chatted, I know you mentioned a website that I have gone to now. It's not competitive, but even if it were, we're all here to get information, I think, as investors, okay, like-minded investors in the mining space. But there's another, so besides mine, Common Stock Warrants, where we got all of the stock warrants that are trading in the U.S. and Canada. The other site that you mentioned to me last time we chatted was privateplacements.com. These are all of the private placements, and they're coming out of Canada. Now, this can present issues for U.S. investors, but if we have Canadian listeners and investors, this is an awesome website. Since we talked last time, I came into 3 different private placements that have all done well. They all have holds, 4-month holds on all of them, so it takes me into basically late December. But my situation is different. I am a U.S. person, but I've lived in Mexico now for over 21 years. I'm also a Mexican citizen. But I managed, oh gosh, 12 to 15 years ago to get a Canadian brokerage account at Canaccord. So Canaccord Genuity. Still had a few shares sitting there. I called up probably late June, and they said, Mr. Baker, what can we do for you? You ready to liquidate your account? I hadn't done any business with them in years. And I said, no, I want to dust it off and go to work, man. I said, holy God, we're going to have to find a broker to handle your account. It's like, so within 10 minutes, I had a phone call from a really nice guy. We dusted off the account. And so that has given me the ability to do these private placements. But I just mentioned it to people that do have that ability. It is a great website, privateplacements.com, and everything there will be Canadian stocks and will be just those warrants in connection with the private placements. But they've got a section that they update every day after the market close as to the most recent of the coming private placements. And it really gives you a good handle, whether you're looking for warrants or half warrants or whatever with the placements. It really is a detailed site. They've done a great job of putting everything together. So I like to think now my resource is privateplacements.com over here and common stock warrants over here on the other side, so that investors know all the warrants that are out there in the universe that are available.
Are you able to share any warrants in the resource sector that you've been tracking that you find intriguing?
Most of them that I find intriguing.
You've already bought?
So, yeah, I passed the point of it being intrigued. It's like when they're intriguing for me, that means I've got to buy them. So, there's a couple of interesting plays that right now, I'll mention the names, but time is running short. I'm always a guy that said in a perfect world, we've got 2 years or more of remaining life on the warrant before we start looking at it. The exception here is that I think the next 12 months is going to be explosive. That's never a guaranteed. You and I know that in this space. We've been disappointed probably before. But where Equinox Gold, that warrant is going to expire in roughly a year. It still has probably some good leverage. They had some disappointing news the other day that one of the mines down here in Mexico, they've got a labor situation going on and shut down one of their producing mines. That did not make me happy. I hope they get that situation resolved soon. Another company that's got a warrant that's Exelon Resources, more of a silver play here, producer here in Mexico as well. A little less than a year now. And they just did a 1-for-5 rollback just 2 days ago so that they can get the price up to get listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So it still trades on the Toronto and will, by the end of this month, we'll have a full listing on the NYSE, which will be cool. So again, interesting situations, both of them, but there's a gigantic caution flag that's going on due to the diminishing time that remains on those warrants. And so, but there's other warrants in our database that have got longer lives. A few that we would probably mention last time, Grand Columbia Gold, that's backed off a little bit. Warrants still look good to me. I've got a really nice position in those, probably got over 3.5 years of remaining life. So we don't have to worry about the clock ticking off on us. I think last time too, I mentioned probably Mexican Gold, MEX. Rather thinly traded, those warrants, but they still have got, roughly a 4-year remaining life. This is a little exploration play. I'm always one of these guys that I'm looking, when these markets get explosive, everything is going to go up. The dogs, the cats, everything, and probably going to go up 10-fold, 20-fold just because. And when this happens, then the warrants, of course, are just along for the ride. So a lot of these I'm looking at the potential. If I'm buying it for pennies, I could easily be selling them for dollars.
With Dudley, we also talked about Hycroft Mining, and I've received emails about this company in the last several weeks. Can you give us your updated take on Hycroft Mining? I know you talked to that management team.
Yeah, and we talked to the management team. Great guys. That was some time back. And then the stock took off. It had a great run from probably $10 or $11 up to like 16. just like a rocket ship, 50% for the common. And then they had some, production problems or management problems there in Nevada, and the shares just came tumbling back down, as did the warrants. And so normally, and I had a position in close to $1 for the warrant. It got up in probably just a little bit over $4 on one day. And then when the stocks start coming back down, of course, the warrants obviously come back down as well. So, it was somewhere in the $2 range that I decided, well, I'm going to take my funds and maybe I'll come back in again another day. So basically I sold the Hycroft warrants, still had roughly 100% or so gain. So can't feel too bad about it. And I'm just looking for another entry point myself. And I think there will be another entry point. It's still sitting today in our time zone, probably $100, $60, $70 for those warrants trading in the U.S. market. And if I could see it closer to $1, I'd probably be back in as well, because I think longer term that will be a good opportunity.
The 5-year life on the warrant, right?
Yes. So no, we've got lots and lots of time. So same thing. They've got an $11.50 exercise price. So we get the stock back to 15 or 16. It's going to be back to the $3 to $4 or more. So it still, I think, has good opportunity. It's just a matter now, when do you come in? How do you come in? And everybody has their own opinion there. I just kind of like to see $1 if we could get it, but may not get it, may not get close to getting it. So. But I've got it on my radar screen. But I've got hundreds of companies on my radar screen. So just a lot of great opportunities. In our database right now at Common Stock Warrants, we've got, well over 400 companies that have stock warrants that are trading. From the resource sector, more often than not, they're on the Canadian side in our Canadian database. In the U.S., there's a lot of biotech companies, pharmaceutical companies, and then this area we talked about last time. I know I referenced it almost totally last time as blank check companies, and it's probably more properly known as the SPACs, SPAC, which stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation. And right now there are and my attraction to this sector is all of these companies are issued with stock warrants. So we've got roughly 100 companies right now in the database, all of which are looking for an acquisition. Some of them have announced an acquisition, and normally it's 3 months before it actually closes. So there's a time delay. Once they actually close that transaction, then the warrants from that closing date will have 5 years of remaining life. So that's where our big opportunities come in. Now, and right now on our radar screen, we've got roughly 40 companies, additional SPACs, that have already IPO'd and are going through the period. It's normally 45 to 52 days before the units split, and the warrants will start trading separately. So we've got another 40 or so companies that are coming in the coming weeks. So it's an explosion within this entire industry. And to me, the only way I can put it is giving all of us so many opportunities. It's getting a handle on what these opportunities are. How do you approach it? What are we looking for? So we're trying to manage this data behind the scene, and we're getting better at it every day. And eventually we'll have another subsection of our databases just allocated to the blank check companies, SPACs, so that we can change our headers at the top and give much more specific information that investors are looking for and will need with respect to this whole category. But it's incredible. And my son and I have bannered this around as to why is this explosion going on in the SPACs at the moment. And we're talking about the one that just came just split yesterday, and the warrants just started trading actually today, is on Pershing Square, and this one their IPO was for $4 billion. The amount of money in this sector is unbelievable, and to think all of these companies are looking for acquisitions. They're looking to merge with a private company that is going to go that will go public via the merger with a blank check company.
So Dudley, last time when you were on the show, I asked you the question, how do you do fundamental analysis to decipher and discern where you would put your money in one of these blank check companies? And you said it's so difficult, Bill, to get a hold of somebody and do that. So what more actionable intelligence are you and your son providing through your database? I mean, should I take $10,000 and just throw $1,000 at 10 different companies, or how do you gamble on a blank check company?
Yeah, and out of say the 100 or so, it does become challenging. The information right now we got in our database, and we're continuing to try to work and brainstorm on exactly what your question is here. And but basically, what so much of the core information for any of these individual companies is all buried in their SEC documents, all in that initial prospectus. Okay, we link to that for every company that's out there. So this tells you, the amount of money they're raising, everything. And then normally this goes on for 80 to 100 pages. Well, it will tell you about, who is the management of this blank check company. What are they looking for? A proposed business that they are interested in. Sometimes they get specific. Normally it's just very, very generalized. And they keep it like an open policy that they could do a merger with virtually anybody. Some of the companies you'll see every now and then you'll see that they're Chinese. Well, personally, they're in our database because they're still trading in the United States. I X those off of my list because I just don't have an interest in going there. There's a few every now and then you see that their focus will be to acquire a company in Brazil. Okay, and again, for me, not being completely comfortable with that, I just X that off of my radar screen. So it's like, how can we dwindle this list down to a more manageable situation? And where the real opportunities come in is if you can buy the warrants that when they are trading for less than $1, and some of these went really, really cheap on the big plunge back in March and April when the markets just all melted down. And I look back at those charts and I'm just thinking, God, where was I? Where was I at when these literally just plunged to almost nothing? But it is a mechanism, and my son is kind of really becoming a computer programmer here now, and finished some hardcore classes at Penn State, and we're trying to get to figure out whether there are some algorithms that we can develop that will help us dwindle this down. Looking at price, looking at volume, looking at all kind of different little factors, and to come up with a list of 10 or so, and say, oh, this is a high probability. It gives us a better shot of picking the next big winners. So, and the big winners just keep coming. One that was on the horizon just the other day, Kensington, I forget the full name, KCAC, on the New York, and it went literally from roughly 80 cents. The common went up to about $7.50. It exploded on the news of a merger, and yeah, I guess that was the warrant. That was on the warrant side. So again, you're looking 500, 600, 700%.
In what time frame again was that it went up 700%?
We're talking probably 3 weeks.
Wow.
No, we're not talking about years like the game that we're kind of used to play, in the resource sector. This is happening. This is all in real time. So when these guys do a merger, and then it is a deal. There's almost a couple of cycles that go on because there's an announcement of a merger, say with the Kensington. Shares spike up. Everybody's excited. I mean, shares go crazy. The warrant goes crazy. The reality is all of these transactions normally take 3 months before they really close. So that means there's a lot of negotiation still between both sides, and then what you'll find is those shares and warrants are going to come back down a big percentage, and they may retrace 50%. At which point then, over the couple of months, we're getting closer and closer to the formalization of that merger, and then the stocks and the warrants go for another ride. And this is the real ride because then that warrant has the 5-year life. So
what you're describing is kind of like that Lassonde chart we look at, right? The two humps on the Lassonde chart in the life cycle of a mining share. Almost there's a similarity.
Yeah. So you're almost going to get two shots at two kicks at the can here. the big kick is right on the beginning. How do you buy these warrants basically for pennies and try to be on board before the explosion happens? But then you almost immediately have to pull the trigger. I mean, maybe 2 days is all you're going to be. I mean, once like on that warrant, it just went crazy. One day it went up from the dollar range to the $5 range, and the next day had another kick up to 750. And I'm on the phone with my son. I said, "Man, if I own this, and this was on our radar screen. My son and I talked about this damn company, and neither one of us had a position. But we talked about it when it was 80 cents, and we could have been there. But it was just you can't own everything. But we missed this one, and we keep saying we can't miss the next one. So how do we get our system refined for us and for our subscribers, where we can help everybody participate in these things? So fascinating opportunities, but yeah, I would have definitely been gone if you'd have given it 48 hours. You say I'm going to stay one more day, and then it opened at $7 and went to 750 and said I'm out of here, and then you ride it on back down. And if you're lucky, you can come back into that warrant maybe at $3. And then because it sounds like these mergers are taking place. These are all going to be substantial companies at the end of the day. And a lot of these that are coming into the automotive sector, the electric battery sector, all of this stuff, they just are exploding just because of the sector that they are in.
My last question on these blank check companies, it's almost like you want to find a prospectus of one of these blank check companies that is pursuing something in a hot sector. Would that be the ideal place to put your money on a speculative bet in one of these companies?
Yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. And basically the only way is we're getting a little better ourselves in our database. We're trying to put down a general idea of what is their business, what are they looking for? If sometimes and the only way you do that is I look through each prospectus. So that's the time-consuming process right now. Is I look to each of these 100+ prospectuses, and I'm looking for certain information. I'm looking for a couple of buzzwords, and this is what we're trying to now put in the database. We call it. You got the name of the company. You got it. It's a blank check company. But now, what is it? The subclass? Is that going to be autos or electric or oil and gas or pharmaceuticals, whatever their companies are looking for, technology, etc. And that all so much depends upon what is the management background behind it. But in there, we do have the link to the SEC document, to the original prospectus, so that each person can go down relatively quickly. You've got a lot of data to go through, but it's a filtering process. But let me, before we wrap up, just mention one cool thing. On our website, we've been trying to make a lot of changes, and my son has put together what he calls a warrant calculator. So we've got maybe 5 or 6 different companies examples, some of which we talked about, the Nikola Motors, Dragon Kings, there was Virgin Galactic. There was an old example a few years ago of Northern Dynasty, one of the mining stocks, all of these that had stock warrants. So we got this warrant calculator on our homepage now. And what you can do, you can see the net result. But you can put in, if you want to put in, say, if you would have invested $1,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, whatever you want, then it will show you company by company how much you would have made, what your percentage gain that you would have made, and how many dollars your $1,000 or $10,000 would be worth had you rode that baby from the bottom to the top. It is staggering to see it in front of you, and it's really staggering to see a chart. And I mean, the gains are so awesome. It's almost mind blowing that it almost doesn't seem real, but it is real, and it's happening right in front of us with so many of these. But in the case of Northern Dynasty and the other one we got on there that we talked about last time too was Horizon Gold. I know in our example last time I told you that I owned it, and it traded as low as 5 cents, and it come all the way up to 35 cents. Well, subsequently to that, it's been to 69 cents. So that's almost another double. And I think now we're back at 55 cents, something like that. But we still have a lot of time. So all of these, it is a deal, and it's always behooves anybody, if you get a great winner, There's never anything wrong with taking some dollars off the table, taking those gains, redeploy those, come back into something else that you think has not moved yet. That's what I am usually pretty good at doing. I like to have a basket over here that I can say, well, I have extra money. What would I buy today? And so that normally works out well. The day's going to come, that's going to be a real challenge, because everything goes up in a rip-roaring bull market and you're ready to reinvest. It's going to be more and more difficult to find something that hasn't moved substantially. So and your risk is just increased as you keep buying at higher prices as it goes on. So there will be a point that we've got to pull back. I think, we're not even near that point right now. Probably intuitively we will know that. But no, there's a lot of great things going on with our site. We got it where everything is sortable, by the company name, by the symbol, by the more importantly probably is the exercise or expiration date.
Yes. Well, I can tell you this, that I have a good friend who told me in the last cycle, he said, Bill, I made a lot of 15 baggers, and the reason I did is because I subscribed to Dudley's service. And he traded warrants, basically followed Dudley in and out of a lot of trades, and was very successful. To learn more about Dudley's service and how to learn about these blank check companies and get access to this database, head on over to MiningStockEducation.com and you'll find all your information you need there. There's also a contact tab if you want to reach out to Dudley. I've been receiving questions about trading stock warrants in the resource sector, but really I'm not your man. Dudley's your man when it comes to that. So go ahead and reach out to him. Dudley, really appreciate your insights. Thanks for coming on today's show.
Really appreciate being with you, Bill. Thank you much.